Hi, I'm Joe with Apex Machine Group. Today we're going to be going over operational procedure and safety features on a 2000 series Apex machine. For this video, we're going to be going over our sample machine, which is a 2037 DSSDC 4-head machine. Okay, first we're going to go over the front control panel on the machine. First thing you want to do when walking up to the machine, turn it on. You flip the power switch, hit the green button. First two things I'd like to point out, these red E-stops, they're primarily for emergency situations. If you'd ever have to immediately stop your machine, you hit it and it cuts power completely and everything stops. To reset this, you twist, it pops out, and you're ready to go. There's two E-stops located on the back of the machine as well. Looking here, we have heads 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order of the machine. Head 1 here is going to be your first belt grinding head. Heads 2 and 3 are going to be your disc stations. Now with the disc stations, they do have VFD controls. When you start up your machine, you can set your actual physical disc speed. 0 through 10 will affect the RPM, as well as this VFD here, which affects the oscillation. You don't have to use oscillation. You can turn it on or off. To do that, hit that power switch there, it's off. Turn it back on, good to go. Now you can also reverse the rotation of the disc. That's using this switch here. Up and down for the disc stations, this switch. Moving up to the 4th head, that's going to be your finishing head. VFD on this as well. Controls the actual speed of the belt. Okay, moving down to this section here, we have our conveyor controls. To start your conveyor, we kick this to the left. The conveyor begins to move. To see your speed on the minicle, you hit enter and use this knob to adjust the speed. Now once you're done seeing your speed, you want to get out of this, hit enter again, back to your height screen. This switch here controls your disc cleaning device. This is the Scotch-Brite abrasives that are under the conveyor on the far side of the machine that clean the belt and also keep it warm and tacky. Turn that on, you just do this. Turn it off. Press stop, stop the conveyor. The conveyor here also has a reverse function. Turn to the right. Brings it backwards. Now we're going to ride it forward again. In addition to the two E-stops here, if you were ever to put in a part that was too thick, we have an over thickness bar that works like an E-stop. If your part is too thick and you put it in, it will hit that, shut off power of the machine. Okay, adjusting the height of your conveyor bed. Two switches on the front of the machine. First you have your power switch, closing your bed up and down. For smaller adjustments, we move below the bed, and you have your fine adjustment knob, which will adjust your bed up and down by thousandths of an inch. Okay, now moving on to the controls inside of the machine. First, we're going to go over your first head. We'll go over changing the belt. To do this, very simple. Flip the switch to the left. It will lower this. Take out the handle, you remove the puck, slide your belt out, grab your new belt, back on, push it in, reinstall the puck and handle, retighten it, and then you're good to go. This handle here is to adjust the tracking of the belt. Here is your up and down for the physical belt head. I'll go over this in a later part of the video during part setup. Safety features. Here we have your belt tracking switch. So if the belt were to off track, you would hit this switch, stop this head immediately, and also power down the machine. Now, moving on to the disc station. Two controls here. We have your power up and down, and then your manual up and down. 4th head controls are going to be the same as the 1st head. Another safety feature here is we have our door key switches. The machine will not run unless the doors are shut. And now moving down to your setup control panel. We're going to briefly touch on these, but we'll go into more detail during part setup. Now the way these controls work is when the doors are open, you will hit your brake release on both heads. What that does is gives you the ability to now use these controls. Now first control we're going to go over is your conveyor. So now you have the ability to turn this switch, which will physically move the conveyor back and forth. Right here we have our jog key, so you can manually adjust the tracking while the doors are open. So if we turn the key, it will run the belt head and you can manually adjust it as it's going. Now in this case the belt did off track. You can see how it stopped. That's because it hit the tracking switch on the other side of the machine. So now to readjust your belt, very simple. All you do, loosen the air cylinder, pull the belt back to center, retighten, release the brake again. Last two things on here are going to be your air adjustment for your belt tracking and your belt tension. Just a brief overview of the back of the machine. As previously mentioned, you have two emergency stops. On the outfeed here, you have your anti-static outfeed brush. You have your height limit switch for your up and down, the max up and down that the bed can go. Under the machine is where the Scotch-Brite cleaning brushes are located, which will keep your belt clean and sticky. Okay, now we're gonna go over part setup and getting your machine ready to run for the day. So first thing we'll do, any piece of metal will work. We're gonna get the thickness read on your said piece of metal. In this case, mine is 0.185 inches. Now to load this on the Minicle, it's very simple. All you're gonna do is hit program, 0.185, enter, start, and that will automatically bring your bed to that level. Okay, now we're gonna go over part setup and performing a scratch test. You wanna do a scratch test at the beginning of every day or if you change a belt. First thing we do, release the brakes on both belt heads. Then we're gonna ride the part under the first head using the conveyor switch. Now once your part is fully centered under the belt, to perform a scratch test, the air brake is released so you can freely spin your belt. Now you can hear that there's no contact on the part right now. So that's when we come to the belt height adjustment knob. So I'm gonna bring it down while spinning it. I'll start to hear some contact. Now you want a little resistance, but not too much to where you can't move the actual belt head. That seems about right to me. Once we pull the part out, we'll inspect it. You usually want a 1/4 inch scratch spread evenly across the part. Now we'll move the part forward. Okay, now we're going over adjusting the disc station. As I said before, you have your electronic and manual adjustments. The further down you go, you do want it typically contacting at least the top of the part, depending on your application. Surface scratch or paint prep, the more interference down the edge of the part is going to increase the amount of deburring edge radius. Okay, moving on to the third head, it's the same process. Ride your part under. Lower your disc station to the desired interference. Now one thing to keep in mind is you don't want too much interference. You do not want the abrasives crushing into the conveyor. This can decrease the life of your conveyor belt and also decrease the life of the abrasives. The fourth head move it under. It's gonna be the same process, same scratch test as the first head. Okay, I'm gonna briefly touch on how to track your belt. This knob is useful for if you change a belt and it would track differently, or if your belt is mistracking in general. Like before, we're just gonna release the brake. And we'll turn your jog switch so the belt starts turning. Now when tracking a belt, you're gonna want about a 5-second span for the belt to go back and forth. That's kind of like the medium. You can also tune it or fine tune it to give you a perfect straight grain. One more quick point, after you're done using your jog key and tracking the belt, remove it. This is to ensure that when someone's doing a scratch test, they don't accidentally bump it and then cause the belt head to go. Okay, now that we're done performing machine setup and performing a scratch test, real quick, I want to show you. Here's our scratch test from the first head. It's about 1/4 inch going across evenly the entire width of the part. Now, to get your machine actually running, what we'll first do is reset the belt heads. Do this by just hitting this button. Now we're going to start the conveyor along with the cleaning brush. Our dust collector is going to kick on. We typically run parts 8 to 12 feet a minute. It is entirely application dependent. We'll start it. Be able to see our speed here. I'm going to run this part at 10 feet a minute. Hit enter to get out of there. Now as we start these, we'll start them all individually. Our VFDs on our disc heads are going to be turned all the way up for maximum deburring and edge radius. Position the part. Quick safety note, you never want to be standing behind the machine as there's a part running through. We'll just wait for it to come out. And for this part, we are using all 4 heads. We're using a 120 grit Cubitron belt on the first head, 2 disc stations loaded with 60 grit abrasives, and then our 4th head is going to be our Scotch-Brite, medium Scotch-Brite polishing head. You can see here's our finished part. Got a nice shine to it. Decent edge radius. If you would like more edge radius on your part, whatever your application is, you can slow down the feed speed to give the abrasives more time to contact the edges, give you that nice rounding. Okay, quickly going over the features of the Minical. Just a refresher, to program your height, you hit program. Let's say you want it to be 1/4 inch. 0.25, enter start, and it'll bring to the bed that thickness. Now you can set presets with the numbers on the pad. So let's say you have a part that's 1/2 inch thick that you run multiple times during the day. To do this, you'd hit F55, enter. You'll hit the number that you want it to be correlated with. In this case, I'll do 9. And then enter 0.5 and click enter. Hit clear. So now when I hit the number 9, it automatically loads that data value. You hit start and it'll bring the bed to that thickness. Now we like to set a home function usually at 0. In our case, it is for 1 inch. So you'll see when I hit 0, it will load 1 inch. You hit start and it'll bring it to that value. Now we do this for a few reasons. Number 1, it's just good to kind of open your bed up at the end of the day before you power down. It's also good to have your bed opened for cleaning purposes and general maintenance. Okay, now we're gonna go over some general maintenance. First, we're gonna go on how to change the battery on your M15 and M10 Minicles. For the M15, you wanna keep the machine powered on. If the machine is powered off and you remove the battery, you're gonna lose all of your settings loaded into the Minicle. Very easy, you just remove the 4 screws, which I've already done. Pop out the Minicle. You'll remove a C-cell battery and replace it with your new one. So replacing your batteries on your M10 Minicles, very simple process. You open the control panel, which will power the machine off. Directly behind these, there's a cover with the screw. You undo that screw and remove the cover. It's 2 AA batteries. Remove 1 battery at a time. That will ensure that your data value stays loaded onto the M10 Minicle. If you do happen to take out both and lose your data value, you can access our website or give us a call. Okay, now we're gonna go over greasing. There are 8 grease points located on the inside of the machine. There are 4 on this side and 4 on that side on each head. Every 50 hours, you wanna just do like 4 to 5 pumps into each bearing here on the disc stations as well as on the belt heads. There are 2 grease points on the rear of the machine for the conveyor. Fill those 50 hours as well. Okay, quickly going over abrasives, when to change them. Application dependent, they can last 4 to 6 months. You never want your abrasives to end up looking like this. You want to replace them before they get to this point. Cleaning brushes on the end of the machine typically last 9 to 12 months. You keep an eye on those. We make all of our abrasives here in-house. We have a subscribe and save program that will send you abrasives for every certain period of time. Thank you for watching. For more information, please access our website, apexmachinegroup.com, or give us a call for any information.